what's on your mind at the moment?
Yeah, so I really want to talk about pricing today, pricing mindset, and then also the sales call as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, good news. One of my four proposals that's out now came back as a yes today. So
Awesome. Awesome. Good on
yeah,
you. That's great news.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
what do you think was the main reason they said yes? Like was it your sales or a new approach or
I let me look back over my notes from my call with her.
was this
I,
someone from your
I
Facebook group?
yeah, yeah. So all of them are. So I think she had mentioned she said that I worked with similar clients to her, or because she's a photographer. She's looking to get into high end fine art photography, portraits, and then maybe some editorial work as well. She's got a really interesting background. She used to work in the film industry with cinematography, so that's pretty cool. But I think she said that my it looked like my work would help her attract the higher end clients. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it was my work, and then we talked about brand a lot, obviously. So
Okay. Well, let me
yeah,
ask
just
you this about your sales process now, because it's great we can have this one as a like an example. So, what's your
yeah,
sales process now to like awareness to getting paid?
yeah, yeah. So awareness would probably start. Usually, people post in the group saying, "Hey, I need a brand who does branding in here." And then so I'm always like checking the group a couple times a day to see who's posting in there. So I comment, and I pretty much have like this one copy and paste comment I put that's like, "Hey, so and so, I'm a brand strategist and designer. If you're looking for a quick logo, I'm not the right fit. But if you're looking to build a sustainable brand that will grow and grow with your business, it's worded better than that. Then I'd love to talk. I've worked with several others in this small group, and then parentheses X number currently in progress. And it's been a joy to support people in the community. And then I post my Instagram and portfolio. So it's not like super direct, but it is. I just don't like being 1,000% direct in Facebook groups because I know pitching is a little. But if somebody asks for it, then I have that comment. If they want to look, they can. If not, I'm not going to have them. So I have that worded so that they can kind of filter themselves. Some people have been like, I am just looking for a quick logo. And I'm like, okay, great. No problem. Kind of saves most of our time. So then they would visit my website either directly or through the link in my Instagram bio and schedule. They would either schedule a call directly from there. I have several calls to action on my website to schedule that through Calendly, or they could send me through the contact form, and then I would respond via email and send them the Calendly link. So everybody funnels through a 30-minute Calendly call, and then so that is the thing. I have on my to-do list this week to really consolidate, like, what questions do I ask on the call? Because I've pulled information from bits and pieces, first from Melinda Livesey and Chris Do videos, a couple things I heard you guys talk about on the podcast, and then I had some really great notes from Ram that I just haven't adopted into my calls yet. I just forgot the notes were there, honestly. So I was looking back over those today, like, oh, I should bring those in, because usually before I have a call, I'm looking at their website or whatever they may already have, or any information they put in the Calendly link about their business. Um, and then I'm writing down what are the questions I'm going to ask them. So lately, and that's kind of like a script, not a script, it's just a guideline for me to make sure I'm hitting the points I want to hit. So I usually start with like, why, tell me about your business. And I just let them talk. And then let me see, I had a good person. There we go. Okay. So from this client specifically, I mean, it's the same for most people, but it's like, tell me about your business. Okay. Why are you looking to rebrand or brand your business? What is the business goal with this? What are you trying to hope to achieve? What's getting in the way of that? Usually that one's hard because they're like, well, not having a brand is getting in the way of having a brand. And I'm like, okay. So it's, I also asked the question, why now? Most people are like, because I need to start my business. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. I was hoping for a little bit more than that, but okay. I always ask, what does success look like? How are we going to measure success? And again, for that one as well, people are like having a brand. It's maybe a little bit more thought out than that, but it's like having a brand would be the measure of success. And I'm like, okay. Again, not quite what we're looking for, but then I do try to push them to more financials. I did ask what happens if we don't do this, and this lady, it threw her off. She's like, what happens if you and I don't do this? And I was like, no, what? I guess I was using the royal we, like the queen. Like, what happens if you don't do this? And it's like, I wouldn't have a brand. I'm like, okay. Why? I ask this 50% of the time, but why me? Why someone like me? Because I'm definitely not going to be the cheapest option you're going to find. And then I ask again, what are the metrics of success? So do you have a financial goal you're hoping to hit with this? And it's 50-50 if I get an answer from them on that. And so then I'm doing some, scribbling down of their metrics, and then that helps me. So then I say, okay, let's talk about price. Now, do you have a budget that you're hoping to stick in mind to? And then usually they say no. I really don't think I've had anybody give me a budget answer. So it's funny because they say no, and then I say, well, my clients are usually in a range, and now this is if they add on like web design, other, packaging, collateral, whatever add-ons. It's in like the $2,000 to $5,000 range, and then I think I say something like I custom quote it for people, give them a couple different I'll give you a couple different package options at price points you're comfortable with. And then send you a proposal, and that's just a starting off for conversation. We can talk about scope and pricing after I send the proposal. It's not set in stone. So usually by then people are like, okay, send the proposal. And so then it's just interesting because I find that I think because a lot of them are smaller, starting out, kind of going back to that question of individuals versus businesses, which is where I get hung up with my emotions around pricing people. But they usually don't have great answers for those questions. Like, what's getting in the way of you having a brand? They're like, my not having a brand. And it's like, okay. Usually their goal is building a business or making profit. It's usually their answers are kind of like surface level and a little bit shallow. And I just don't know if they have enough business experience behind their specific business. Not in general, but I don't know if they've been in their businesses long enough to really have better answers, because I am still working with smaller clients, smaller businesses. So this bridal one, the one that I just landed, that was like the big ordeal with the pricing. Like, she is the first like business I feel like I've worked with from a branding perspective. So I didn't have as much trouble with her. It was just a matter of her having the money, but everybody else, it just feels like they don't have answers. They don't have numbers they're trying to hit with their rebrand. And I'm like Christo has all these nice carousel sliders of how to do the sales call. And it's always, ask them how much numbers they're hoping to hit and talk about value-based pricing as regards their numbers. And I'm like, but what if they don't have numbers and they don't have a budget and they don't have expectations on what this should cost until the proposal comes and they're like, it's too expensive. And I'm like, well, you had a budget all along. You just didn't know what it was until you realize this is too expensive. So yeah, so I feel like that's the main problem, is I'm just not getting helpful enough answers. And I think I also honestly don't know how to ask better questions to get better answers. I know the fault's on both sides.
Okay, so the real challenge is trying to get information out of them to help facilitate the sale. Okay, so first off, you're asking really great questions, so I want to give you that. Every client is different though, so you will get different answers, and it's our jobs as facilitators and the consultant to get this information out of them. And you're going to have to do this differently with each client, and that's only with experience that you'll get to know how to handle each one differently. But you do have some really great questions. But I wanted to go back to the initial questions, like the why this, why me, why now kind of thing, because figuring out that is the basis for your business, for what you're offering them. So if you can really dig deep on why they're doing this, you'll start to realize like there's a lot more to it. Why do they want to, they have pains. They're coming to you because they have pain. They're trying to get rid of their pain. So if you can tap into what they're trying to achieve or get rid of, what their pain points are, you'll be able to sell the value of what you're doing. And that way you're not pricing this on, you're not investing, it's not on price. So you're providing value to them. And that value is getting rid of that pain point. So you really need to figure out what they're trying to do, what they're trying to get rid of. And that's why it's such a fundamental question. So dig deep on that question in the beginning, because that's going to be the basis of your whole discussion. And you don't want to waste like your time figuring out all this information when you don't really know what they're trying to do. Like you're going ahead of yourself and you're just asking the next questions, which are good, but you don't really know what they're doing. So that would be my first insight from what I've heard so far.
That's really
the other
good.
thing is that asking why me is a good question, because you're trying to convince them, like they're trying to find out why they chose you, and you're trying to convince them otherwise. Like, you don't really need me. You don't need me. If you want a logo, go somewhere else. Like, if you want to work with me, I'm going to get rid of your pain points that we just found out. I'm going to get you to where you need to be, and we're going to get rid of your, whatever their goals are, like give you financial income. We're going to get rid of your lack of time. You're going to have money to spend on holidays, and just paint this picture. Like, this is what the aspiration is. That I find that to be a very useful tactic. Also, all of this comes down to positioning as well, what your value is, because the idea is that you need to build up trust, and that obviously you do that in a number of ways. And yes, they're becoming aware of you on Facebook, but then they're going to check out your website and social and all of that. So it is a trust building process. So there are parts of your sales process where you can inject this trust in different ways. So I consider looking at different ways to do that. Okay. Whether or not that's like some free resources, or like a mini course, for example. Like, I know we talked about value ladders, but I know it's a lot to think about, but you can add different rungs as you have more time and you get to build up your business. So just focus on like the first 3 rungs at the moment. And that will help build that trust. I feel like
having my Instagram, I really only have my Instagram since like November, December. So, and I really feel like that's helped a lot, because I have heard from a couple past, or I guess current past clients who have been like, yeah, like I really saw your Instagram and you were talking about XYZ. So
yeah, exactly. And that's a trust thing. That's what Instagram doesn't necessarily get clients, but it convinces clients that you can find from other, it's an all ecosystem really. And it's all trust building. So they're trying to figure out, can I trust this person to help me? Like, people are they're selfish, that everyone's about themselves, and that's why they're hiring people. They want to improve themselves. So you are the person improving their life. And if you can think about it as that, you're the guide. I'm not sure if you read StoryBrand. Yeah. So you're the guide that's going to get them from A to B. And if you talk about it to them like that, and you have that picture that I talked about earlier, that's really how you're positioning yourself. And they'll start to see the value of what you do based on how you talk to them, and showing that you're in it with them. You're a partner. You're not an executioner. You'll guide them through this process. And this is the idea of this, is to paint that picture of value. And that's why when you start talking about budgets or proposals, that they see the number and they get the sticker shock. They're like, whoa. And the problem there is they're not seeing the value. They're not seeing the value hasn't been communicated, and that's why they're getting it. And you should also talk about money. There's different trains of thought. You can either talk about money early, or really listen to what they're trying to achieve, and then paint like a more honed in goal. But if their budget is like really low at the beginning, is maybe because they don't see the value yet, and is your job is to educate them on the value on it and how important the investment is for them. I know you ask if you're not doing this. I'm not sure how you phrased it. You said if you
what happens if we don't do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a good question, but yes, you may get some surface level answers. But if you keep asking, like, why, that's another useful technique. like, why are you starting a business? It comes back to that original question. Why are you doing this? Why? I think that will help uncover what they're really trying to achieve. And this is going to trickle down. Like, as soon as you have this answer, it's going to trickle down and make the rest of this easier for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about your proposals. You get all this information, and then like, what do? You send them a proposal link, or do you chat to it on the phone, or?
Yeah, so we have the phone conversation, which is like 30 to 45 minutes, and then I send them a proposal over email. So actually, I wonder if I can, I don't know, Illustrator. It might take a while to start Illustrator up. Kind of want to show it. Yeah, let me show you one. I'll just show it in Acrobat here, and then I'll just speed run through it because it's actually. Oh no, just kidding. I guess I can't do that. Yeah, it's saying I can't share my screen. That's fine.
Maybe can allow it for you.
Okay.
Allow record. No. So if you click share screen, what happens?
Host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, so try now.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's pretty long, so I'll give you the speed run. So it's got like the table of contents, the overall goal, just very simple. And then the basic facts, brand strategy, design, price.
So just let me ask, are you presenting this on the phone to them?
I am not, no. So I do touch on the cost a little bit on the phone.
Okay. So I'd try talking to them when you present this to them. Don't just send a PDF, get them on the phone and run them through this whole document. I can see that it's nicely presented and you've really thought about it, which is great, but you need to get a feel of the person's reaction, see their body language and how they react to how you talk about it. Video helps a lot in that building that trust as well. So consider having a video call with them. Again, like, I keep coming back to trust and value, because if they can see you're invested in their business, then they're going to trust you more and they're more likely to go ahead. Obviously, there's a lot of other considerations, but this is really the basis of it. Anyway,
okay, I love that. I've honestly never thought of doing this over the phone. So it's a really good idea. Yeah, so I have what's included. I have recently been doing 3 packages. I should probably pull, I'll pull Kemi's up. This was from Friday. So it follows the same process. So here I have the 3 options, which now I start with the most expensive one, because I think you mentioned that on one of our calls a couple weeks ago.
Yep,
so we have, so it's basically like, I do everything for you. Middle option is I set it up for you and I show you how to do it. And then the baseline option is you do everything. So in a nutshell. So honestly, the full brand package, the middle option, is always kind of my base one. That has the strategy, the roadmap, logo, some messaging points, style guide, and social media images. Those are the base things that I find I do for everybody, and that works across the board for everybody. That's kind of like the basic things. There's nothing really I could take out of that. And then I have a stripped down version, which is a 1-hour strategy, a logo, and a brand board, which, but if that's all they can do, that's all they can do. And then I customize whatever first option would be the most expensive one, which is I usually sit back and think about what they talked about, what are their goals for their business and their brand, and then, do they need a website? Do they need maybe some social media strategy to get them off the ground if they're launching a new brand or new offering? So I usually customize that and say, hey, I've thought about your business a little bit more and I put this together just for you. So I customize that, and then I show the breakdown of the payments here. And I do mention that on the phone that we do payment plans. So I had the payments broken down as well here. Following things are not included in the cost of the project. It's kind of there. Where does the cost come from? So to be honest, I actually bought this template from a designer who's, I would love to be like her in 5 years. And so she was giving a presentation and a webinar on proposals, and I took so many notes. I was like, I can do this myself. And then I sat down to do it. And I was like, or I could just buy hers and customize it. And so that's what I did. It was way better. I was just sending them like a link to literally like on my back end system. So, so I think
it's always about improving and seeing what works. And it's very clear and it's nicely designed. So it's strong.
Yeah, it's great. It's worth it. So then I have my process in here. That looks like communication and boundaries. So office hours, communication, please communicate in Asana, my project management system. Just like, some more like technical things. I might share my process on Instagram, a few tips for working with a designer, and then thank you. So it kind of, it walks through the pricing plans, and I like how it does have, this is where the costs come from. So it's kind of getting into value, but like it really is not meant to be the heavy lifting of this is the value of your brand, but it does touch on that. Here's what the whole process looks like, so it kind of like gives them everything they could possibly have questions about. So
okay, so what are the major pushbacks after you send them this? Like what's next? You just wait for a response on email, or?
Yeah, so I send this to them over email and say, hey, this is meant to be a jumping off point for more discussion. That's something I've recently been telling people after the Evergreen Bride, which is that bigger client, because I am willing to have conversations and talk about scope. And so I fear that if people get a document like this, they'll think it's fine. They'll think it's formal and set in stone. So I try to really communicate over the phone. I say it several times. I'm going to send you the proposal. It's meant to be a jumping off point for more conversation. Nothing is set in stone in here. So if you have any concerns about the scope or the cost, we can talk about how to work on the scope, et cetera. So I send this to them over email and then wait for a response, kind of follow up maybe every week, 2 weeks, kind of.
All right. It sounds like that you haven't really defined their problem well enough to put together a proposal based on their needs. Because if you're saying that we can customize this, it sounds like you haven't really honed in on what they're trying to do, because that could be a point that's hurting you, is because they see these options and they're like, oh, this just looks like a proposal she sends to everyone and it hasn't actually been customized to my needs. So you could do a little bit more personalization and walk through on the phone with them as well. And I think that will help.
I really love that. Yeah. I think that's great. Because I probably could still keep and I'm not married to my middle offering. I'm not married to anything that's in the packages. I just know at least the middle offering was my basic one, because I usually address collateral after the strategy workshop, because we usually find different areas in their customer journey that need to be addressed, like packaging, follow-ups, whatever. So I say, hey, I know we talked about business cards on the phone or whatever, and I actually do put this in the proposal if it's relevant to them. I know we talked about this on the phone, but I wait until, afterwards. But I probably still could keep the middle option, because I think it is a really good, for my clients, it's been a really good baseline of what everybody needs. But if it is, I love that you said if it's talked over on the phone, because I do customize the higher end package for them. And that is different from client to client. So I could say, hey, this is all completely customized for you. Now we can talk about scope. If you have any concerns about pricing, we can talk about the scope of these things, but these are customized options. So I really love that you mentioned that, because I never thought of it like that.
Great. Just go back. That's great to hear. And yeah, it's just little insights like that can really change or make a sale. So it's important to consider. Can you go back to that page that has the three options? Okay. So I just want to read this a little bit further. So I think the launch, you can increase the cost of all of these. Like the launch package should be like your super deluxe high end anchoring package. Like I'm not sure where your prices are for that. So your launch package, you could make it 20,000. Is it to make? Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine charging that much.
Yeah. The point of this option one is to have an anchor. I know you feel like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That's
if someone does choose it, like you still have to follow through with it. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a price anchoring, because like if you want the best that I offer, this elevates your positioning as an expert and says this is how much I'm worth. Like if you want me all in, this is how much I'm worth.
Okay.
And the psychology behind it is, oh, option two isn't that bad. It's only $5,000.
Mm.
When you're comparing 20 to 5,000, like it's just how our brains are wired. It's like, oh, that's a good deal. It's just like when we go to a shop and the thing is crossed out, the sale. It's like you're saving $200, you know, and it's like that's a great deal, even though like you're paying $200 for a shirt or something like that. So
Every time.
yeah, exactly, and that's how this works. So that would be my next recommendation: is to increase your option one. You could even increase your option two. Like you've got some great work, you've got a very thorough proposal here, and I think you can double your prices. Honestly.
Wait, me? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow. Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah, it is scary, but that's growth, and I think you can get away with it. You've got all the right questions. You've got the proposal. I think some tweaks here and there presenting on the phone will be super valuable for you. And
Okay. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So on the higher end package, so if I were to say, 10,000, 15,000 for that, whatever, just, whatever high anchoring number, because 20 is like super terrifying for me, but I probably should do that. But whatever high number it is, like, am I just putting it, is it just for the image of it, the price anchoring?
You need
Or,
the next page. You have to like describe what's in it, obviously, but you have to
yeah,
think. You have to deliver more, obviously. But
yeah,
you can show you're delivering more by adding more services. It may or may not be relevant to what they talked about, but you can make it relevant by saying, "Oh, you want to get this figure, like what you talked about, like why you're doing that. You want to get here. This is how you're going to do it. We have a marketing package. We have a social media package. We could do your website SEO. We could do all these other marketing things, and you could have that in your launch. So it's basically strategy, um, brand identity, and then marketing. So there could be those aspects to it. So I'd consider just trying to think of everything that you could possibly offer to make it look super valuable. And if they do go with it, like you can still go through with it. But like your core offering is obviously the middle, and then like a very light version is the last one. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was just wondering if I make it, because like obviously having the ability on my end to follow through with it, but do I make it so it's like, oh, they're never, because do I make it so that it's like, oh, they're never going to go for this, and if they do, that's great, but it's probably not going to happen. So I'm really angling for them to get the middle package by comparison.
Yeah, so the idea is that they could go for the first one. I don't want to say make it super unreachable, but you do have to be able to back up your figures and say like this is why this is this. I wouldn't necessarily line item each thing that you're going to include. That's a no. So
You mean like price point line item, or like this?
Yeah. So like you could have like add-on sections like you did on there, but basically it's the full package, because you don't want them to break it down by line item or like for certain things. So yeah, you'll have to think about it. I can't say what's right for you, but just the idea is there for you.
Okay, that's super helpful. Yeah.
No worries. And super exciting news. I haven't announced it yet, but we have Melinda Livesey as a guest speaker coming in. So yeah.
I'm such a creepy fangirl of hers.
Yeah, so she's great. We had her on the podcast, and she has a ton of value to give. And
I know I've been waiting for the episode to come out. Every time you drop an episode, I'm like, Melinda Livesey. They're all so good though. But yeah.
Yeah, soon. But yeah, she'll be in later this next month. We're working on the date, but yeah, super exciting. And we'll probably talk about strategy, perhaps pricing. We could actually go through this. I think this would be a great example, to be honest. Like we could show before and after, if you're comfortable with it, like before and after of like what your package was. And this template is great. It's I'm not sure who your person was, but there's a lot of new things going out there. So actually need to improve mine now that I've seen this, to be honest. So we all learn from each other, which is good.
Yeah, I'll Slack you her Instagram handle. So she's pretty cool. But yeah, it was like $90 and had all the copywriting in it, and just obviously customizing fonts and customizing copy. But
Yeah.
saved me a
Awesome.
couple hours. Worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I look forward to your next revision, and yeah, try
Yeah.
to call as well. And I hope this was super valuable for you.
Yeah, it was super valuable. Thank you. That was really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I don't know what time that is going to be for you, but tomorrow my time. So.
Yeah. So 6:30 a.m. bright and early for me.
All right. All right.
Okay.
I'll see you then.
See you, Amy. Bye.
Bye.